The average American investor loses 3.2% annually compared to market returns. That gap represents billions in lost wealth every year. But why do intelligent people still fail at building lasting financial freedom? What if the real obstacle isn't market knowledge or timing, but something deeper? Something that compounds silently in the background of every financial decision you make. Today, we're going to explore the compounding exit plan, a framework that reveals how small behaviors, invisible psychology, and quiet decisions create either wealth or poverty over time. This isn't about picking stocks or timing markets. This is about understanding the hidden system behind every successful wealth builder, and how you can harness these compounding forces to live off your investments. But first, if you're serious about building wealth that lasts, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Think of it as joining a community of people who understand that financial freedom isn't built through intensity or speculation, but through the quiet accumulation of knowledge, habits, and systems that compound over decades. We're not here for quick wins. We're here for generational wealth. This is the first quiet lesson that changes everything. The foundation of wealth isn't your investment portfolio, it's your primary income source. Have you ever noticed how people chase investment returns while ignoring their most valuable asset, their earning capacity? Your job, your business, your skill set, these represent the engine that funds everything else. Without a strong foundation of earned income, your investment strategy becomes speculation built on shaky ground. Most people dream of escaping their work to live off investments, but they approach this backwards. They want to replace income they haven't maximized with investments they haven't funded properly. What if the path to financial freedom actually begins with falling in love with the work that pays you? When you optimize your earning capacity first, you create the fuel for everything else. The psychology here compounds in fascinating ways. When you view your career as a wealth-building tool rather than a prison to escape, your behavior changes. You invest in skills, you seek advancement, you negotiate better compensation. These small improvements compound over years into dramatically higher lifetime earnings. A modest increase in salary today becomes hundreds of thousands in additional lifetime wealth. Here's where the second pattern reveals something deeper about human psychology and money. We live in a culture that promises instant gratification, but wealth building requires a different relationship with time and satisfaction. The most successful investors save large portions of their income not through deprivation, but through delayed gratification that feels rewarding rather than punishing. What percentage of your income do you currently save? If it's less than 20%, you're likely underestimating the psychological compound effect of consistent saving. Each dollar saved today isn't just currency, it's purchasing power over future choices. It's freedom from financial anxiety. It's the ability to take risks and pursue opportunities that others cannot afford. But here's the psychological insight that most people miss. Saving isn't about restriction. It's about expanding your future options. When you reframe saving as buying freedom, the behavior becomes sustainable. Small increases in your savings rate compound into dramatically different life trajectories. A person who saves 10% of their income lives a fundamentally different life than someone who saves 25%, even with identical salaries. The difference between investing and speculating reveals the third compounding force that determines long-term wealth. Have you ever wondered why intelligent people make poor investment decisions? They confuse speculation with investing, and this confusion compounds into years of poor returns and missed opportunities. Investing means purchasing assets that generate income or appreciate in value over extended periods. Speculating means betting on short-term price movements with no underlying income or clear value proposition. The time horizon distinguishes these approaches. Investors think in decades, speculators think in days or months. This distinction matters because psychology compounds differently across different time horizons. Short-term thinking creates anxiety, impulsive decisions, and reactive behavior. Long-term thinking creates patience, strategic planning, and disciplined execution. When you extend your time horizon, you automatically improve your decision-making quality. Risk tolerance compounds in counterintuitive ways. People assume that conservative investing means lower returns, but this misunderstands how risk actually works over time. Conservative investing with consistent contributions over decades often outperforms aggressive speculation precisely because it avoids the psychological pitfalls that destroy wealth. By the way, if this perspective aligns with your approach to money and long-term freedom, comment the word "long game" below. I read every one of them. This next lesson is invisible but powerful: the compounding effect of financial systems and tracking. Most people manage money through intuition and memory, but successful wealth builders create systems that expose patterns and opportunities. When you can see exactly where your money flows, you gain the power to redirect those flows toward wealth building. And to make this journey effortless, we're building the Trip to Wealth Command Center, a Google Sheets system that brings your income, spending, investing, and net worth together in one place. It's your personal strategy hub designed to expose money leaks, highlight growth opportunities, and show how small decisions compound into real wealth. Join the early access list below and secure a discount as an early supporter. Every wealth system needs a strategy. This is where yours begins. The psychology of measurement compounds in remarkable ways. What gets measured gets managed, but more importantly, what gets measured gets optimized over time. When you track your net worth monthly, you begin to see patterns that were previously invisible. Small leaks become obvious. Growth opportunities become clear. Your financial behavior naturally improves because you're paying attention. Here's where the fourth compounding principle becomes critical. Understanding that markets change, but human psychology remains constant. No investment strategy works forever because economic conditions evolve, but your ability to adapt and respond thoughtfully compounds over decades. The future is fundamentally unpredictable, which means your wealth-building strategy must be built for uncertainty rather than precision. This psychological shift changes everything. Instead of trying to predict market movements, you focus on building resilience and flexibility. Instead of seeking perfect investments, you diversify across different asset classes and time horizons. Why do people make poor financial decisions when they have access to excellent information? Because they let other people's opinions override their own analysis and long-term strategy. The ability to think independently about money compounds into enormous wealth advantages over time. Every financial decision you make is either moving you toward financial independence or away from it. The compound effect of consistently making your own informed decisions, rather than following trends or tips, creates a completely different wealth trajectory over decades. This pattern connects to something deeper about personal responsibility and wealth building. Your financial future depends entirely on your own actions and decisions, not on market performance or economic conditions or government policies. When you fully accept responsibility for your financial outcomes, your behavior changes immediately and compounds over time. The fifth compounding force involves understanding the difference between assets and liabilities, particularly when it comes to debt. Most people think about debt as either good or bad, but successful wealth builders think about debt as a tool that either accelerates or destroys wealth building depending on how it's used. Debt that helps you acquire income-producing assets accelerates wealth building. Debt that helps you acquire consumption items destroys wealth building. This distinction seems simple, but the psychological implications compound over years into dramatically different financial outcomes. When you use debt to purchase rental real estate that generates monthly cash flow, you're using leverage to build wealth faster than your own savings would allow. When you use debt to purchase luxury items that depreciate in value, you're using leverage to destroy wealth faster than your income can replace it. The psychology of debt usage reveals deeper patterns about delayed gratification and identity. People who use debt strategically tend to have a different relationship with consumption and status than people who use debt impulsively. These psychological differences compound over decades into completely different net worth outcomes. Diversification represents the sixth compounding principle that protects and builds wealth over time. But diversification isn't just about owning different investments. It's about spreading risk across different categories of assets, different time horizons, and different economic scenarios. Why do people put all their money into one investment or one asset class? Because they misunderstand how uncertainty compounds over time. No single investment performs well in all economic conditions, which means concentration creates unnecessary risk that compounds into potential wealth destruction. True diversification means owning assets that perform well during different economic conditions. Stocks perform well during growth periods. Bonds perform well during stability periods. Real assets like real estate and commodities perform well during inflationary periods. This psychological approach to diversification reduces anxiety and improves long-term returns. The seventh compounding principle involves controlling lifestyle inflation and consumption patterns. In consumer culture, people tend to increase spending as their income increases, which prevents the compounding effect of higher savings rates from accelerating wealth building. Have you ever noticed how people with higher incomes often have similar financial stress as people with lower incomes? This happens because lifestyle inflation prevents income growth from translating into wealth growth. Small increases in consumption compound into dramatically reduced savings capacity over time. The psychology of consumption reveals fascinating patterns about identity and status. People who define themselves through their possessions tend to struggle with wealth building because their spending grows faster than their income. People who define themselves through their net worth and financial independence tend to excel at wealth building because their spending stays disciplined regardless of income growth. This connects to the eighth compounding force, understanding how tax strategies compound wealth building over decades. The difference between focusing on pre-tax income and focusing on after-tax wealth accumulation creates completely different financial outcomes over time. Most people think about taxes as something that happens to them rather than something they can optimize. But successful wealth builders understand that tax efficiency compounds into enormous wealth advantages over decades. The difference between paying 30% in taxes and paying 20% in taxes becomes hundreds of thousands of dollars over a career. Different types of income face different tax treatment, and this knowledge compounds into strategic advantages. Passive income from dividends and capital gains typically faces lower tax rates than active income from employment or business operations. This tax difference provides additional incentive for building investment portfolios that generate passive income. The ninth compounding principle involves building portfolios that withstand economic turbulence and market volatility. Most people think about investing during good times. But wealth is often built during difficult times when assets are available at discounted prices. What separates successful long-term investors from unsuccessful ones? Their behavior during market downturns and economic uncertainty. When other people are selling assets out of fear, successful investors are buying assets at reduced prices. This psychological difference compounds into enormous wealth advantages over decades. Building resilient portfolios means owning assets that maintain value during different economic scenarios. This might include dividend-paying stocks that continue generating income during market declines, precious metals that maintain purchasing power during currency debasement, or real estate that provides shelter and utility regardless of financial market performance. The 10th compounding force connects to something fundamental about planning and goal setting. Most people approach investing without clear objectives or timelines, which leads to inconsistent behavior and poor outcomes. Successful wealth builders create detailed investment plans that guide decision-making over decades. An investment plan functions like a roadmap that keeps you moving toward financial independence regardless of short-term market conditions or economic news. When you know exactly how much you need to save and invest each month to reach financial independence within a specific time frame, your behavior becomes much more disciplined and consistent. But investment planning also reveals the importance of balancing wealth building with life enjoyment. What good is financial independence if you sacrifice decades of happiness to achieve it? Successful wealth builders find ways to enjoy their money while still building long-term wealth. They understand that money is a tool for creating better life experiences, not an end goal in itself. Here's where the 11th compounding principle becomes crucial: surrounding yourself with people who understand money and wealth building. Your social environment influences your financial behavior in ways that compound over years into dramatically different outcomes. People who spend time with successful investors tend to adopt better financial habits and investment strategies. People who spend time with people who struggle financially tend to adopt limiting beliefs and poor financial behaviors. This social influence compounds over decades into completely different net worth outcomes. But building relationships with financially successful people requires providing value rather than just seeking advice. What skills or knowledge or connections can you offer to people who have already achieved financial independence? Successful networking happens when you contribute to other people's success rather than just asking for help. The 12th compounding force involves maintaining optimism and long-term perspective despite short-term setbacks and market volatility. Why do people make poor investment decisions during market downturns? Because they let temporary emotions override long-term strategy. Pessimism creates a psychological compound effect that destroys wealth over time. When you expect bad outcomes, you make defensive decisions that prevent you from participating in long-term wealth creation. When you maintain reasonable optimism about the future, you make strategic decisions that position you for long-term wealth growth. This psychological approach to investing requires understanding that short-term market movements are essentially random, but long-term market trends reflect underlying economic growth and human innovation. Companies become more efficient over time. Technology improves productivity. Human creativity solves problems and creates value. These trends compound into wealth creation over decades. The most successful investors understand that their job isn't to predict short-term market movements, but to position themselves to benefit from long-term economic growth and innovation. This psychological shift eliminates the stress and anxiety that leads to poor investment decisions. Now let's bring together all these compounding forces into a coherent framework for living off your investments. The compounding exit plan isn't about reaching a specific dollar amount and then stopping work. It's about building multiple streams of passive income that eventually exceed your living expenses, giving you the freedom to choose how you spend your time. This process happens gradually rather than suddenly. First, your investment income covers small expenses like entertainment or dining out. Then it covers larger expenses like utilities or car payments. Eventually, it covers major expenses like housing costs. Finally, it covers your entire lifestyle, giving you complete financial independence. Each milestone provides psychological reinforcement that compounds into increased confidence and better decision-making. When you see tangible progress toward financial independence, you naturally make better financial choices because you understand how those choices impact your future freedom. The timeline for achieving financial independence depends entirely on your savings rate and investment returns, but the psychological journey follows predictable patterns. The first year of serious wealth building feels slow and difficult. The 5th year feels more natural and sustainable. The 10th year feels inevitable and exciting. The compounding effect of good financial habits creates momentum that accelerates over time. Most importantly, the compounding exit plan changes your relationship with money from anxiety and scarcity to confidence and abundance. When you understand exactly how money works and how wealth builds over time, you make better decisions with less stress. You focus on what you can control rather than worrying about what you cannot control. Financial independence isn't about having enough money to stop working. It's about having enough money to choose work that aligns with your values and interests, rather than work that simply pays bills. It's about having the psychological freedom that comes from knowing you could survive financially even if your employment situation changed. The compounding forces we've explored today work together to create wealth over time, but they require consistent application over years and decades. Small improvements in your earning capacity compound into higher lifetime income. Small increases in your savings rate compound into dramatically different net worth outcomes. Small improvements in your investment knowledge compound into better portfolio performance. Small improvements in your financial systems compound into better decision-making and reduced mistakes. Wealth building isn't about intensity or perfection. It's about consistency and patience and continuous improvement over long periods of time. The people who achieve financial independence aren't necessarily the smartest or the highest earners. They're the people who understand how compounding works and who have the discipline to let these forces work over decades. Your financial future depends on the decisions you make today and the systems you build to guide future decisions. Every dollar you save and invest today is working for your future freedom. Every financial habit you develop today is either moving you toward financial independence or away from it. Every piece of financial knowledge you gain today improves your decision-making capacity for the rest of your life. The compounding exit plan isn't a get-rich-quick scheme or a magic formula for easy wealth. It's a systematic approach to building financial independence through the accumulation of assets that generate passive income. It requires patience, discipline, and continuous learning, but it provides something that money alone cannot buy: the freedom to choose how you spend your most valuable resource, which is your time. The path to financial independence is available to anyone willing to understand how money works and to apply that knowledge consistently over time. The compounding forces are neutral. They work for anyone who uses them properly. Your background, your current income level, your education, your age, none of these factors prevent you from building wealth if you understand and apply these principles. What matters is starting today with whatever resources you have available and committing to the long-term process of wealth building. Financial independence is not a destination you reach and then stop working toward. It's an ongoing process of building systems and making decisions that compound into greater freedom and security over time. The most important decision you can make for your financial future is to take responsibility for your outcomes and to begin building the habits and systems that create wealth over decades. Every day you delay is a day that compounding cannot work in your favor. Every day you commit to this process is a day that moves you closer to the freedom that financial independence provides. Your wealth-building journey begins with your next financial decision. Make it count. And there you have it: the compounding exit plan and how to live off your investments. If you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below, especially if this video made you think differently. I appreciate your support more than you know. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.